Foreign relations have been high on the list of priorities in the Biden administration. And with many other countries joining us on the world stage, now more than ever is an important time to put our best foot forward in alliances and strengthening ties overseas, including with Hungary, a prominent member of NATO and the EU and a close ally of the United States. Joining me now to discuss live in studio, the Foreign Minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjarto. It's so wonderful to see you, Foreign Minister. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation. Honored to be here.
Well, it's fabulous to see you here, and you are in town to speak at the United Nations today, the Security Council, on the topic of children and armed conflict. So tell me more about what you plan on bringing up in this meeting.
You know, the war in Ukraine has been going on for 146 days now, and we, Hungary, are a neighboring country to Ukraine. So we have been experiencing the negative impacts of the war from the very beginning. We have already received 840,000 refugees arriving from Ukraine. And because of the conscription rules being in power in Ukraine, these are mostly torn apart families, meaning mothers accompanied by their children, and no fathers because they had to stay in Ukraine. And I have to tell you, it's heartbreaking to see 840,000 refugees like this. And that's why the meeting today, chaired by Brazil, is so important, because it is about how to help the children who are suffering from the armed conflicts. And actually, if you look at the war in Ukraine, the most significant losers, I mean, who lose the most with this war are the children, because they lose their happy time of being a child, and they lose a part of their future as well. So that's why we ensure for all Ukrainian children coming to Hungary a free access both to education and healthcare. So 900 Hungarian kindergartens, elementary and secondary schools have been involved in the program of hosting the Ukrainian children and students. And we have offered 1,000 scholarships for those Ukrainian students who cannot continue their university studies because of the universities are being closed. And for those who have just left the high school and they would like to start their university studies, but they can't, they can all do it in Hungary, and we cover it with a state-funded scholarship. So we know that this does not make their suffering disappear, but definitely might help a bit.
Yeah, offering a sense of normalcy.
Yeah, let's put it this way.
And you know, just providing for them when it comes to education, which is so important. You want to keep kids learning and keep that going. So that's fascinating to hear that those services are being provided. And it comes at a time, though, when we are seeing record heat in Europe right now. I understand your government recently declaring an energy emergency last week. This was in response, though, to supply disruptions and skyrocketing energy prices in Europe. Prime Minister Orban's chief of staff declaring there's unlikely to be enough gas in Europe for the autumn and winter heating season. So we're not quite there yet, but how serious is this situation?
Well, the situation is extremely serious in Europe, because you know, many countries are dependent on deliveries from Russia when it comes to gas and oil. And this is a determination. This is not because we wanted to have this situation. This is not for fun. This is not based on our own willingness. This is a determination of history and of geography as well. We Hungarians are dependent on Russian energy sources as well. Touch wood, in our case, the supply is uninterrupted. The supply is mostly according to the contract, so 89% of what has been contracted with the Russians have arrived, which is a pretty good, let's say, figure compared to the western part of Europe. But we have to be aware that the western delivery routes and the northern delivery routes in Europe from Russia to the western part of Europe are very uncertain currently. The most certain delivery route is the so-called Turkey Stream pipeline, which delivers the gas from Russia through Turkey, Bulgaria and Serbia towards Central Europe and Hungary. And this is a very reliable pipeline. So in our case, the supply is being safe so far. But in other parts of Europe, they are suffering a lot. They are faced with tremendous challenges, and there's an emergency situation in Europe when it comes to the energy supply. We Hungarians, we also do want to buy more gas until the 1st of October, when the heating season will officially start, in order to be on the safe side. It's not easy to buy new quantities on top of the already contracted volumes. because of the market situation, which is not a real market situation. This is a war market situation currently because there's not enough supply. So the prices are skyrocketing, but the real question is not the price. The real question is whether you have the quantity or you do not have.
Sure. But speaking of the ongoing war, the EU set to announce new additional sanctions against Russia over the invasion of Ukraine. How do you think this might impact the state of the war, and will it deter Putin?
Well, you know, we have spent a lot of time in Europe with discussing the sanctions and making decisions about restrictive measures. But here you have to be aware of two things. First, sanctions do make sense only in case they are more painful to Russia than to Europe. And currently what we experience is that these sanctions are extremely painful to Europe as well. Because, as we said, the prices of commodities and energy sources are skyrocketing. They cause extremely high inflation. They cause a lot of uncertainty and suffering for the European economies. And basically, it is the people to pay the price. Second, it's very important to deal with the peace. I mean, you know, we are a neighboring country. And whenever there's a war in your neighboring country, you are under a security risk. So we really want peace. So I think that the whole international community should concentrate on that. How to establish an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine, how to launch substantial and efficient peace talks, because this is the only way to move forward. And if you ask the question, what is the solution to this situation? What is the solution to all aspects of this situation? There's only one answer and one word, and this is peace. And we have to make everything in order to reach peace as soon as possible in our neighborhood.
It really ties it back to even the first question and why you're in New York today. You would essentially have those children in Ukraine back at home.
Yeah, that's right. That's the main goal. That's the main goal of ours. That's right.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Foreign Minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjarto, taking the time and joining us today. Really, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.